Chosen one. Heaven itself paused the day you made that hidden move. You thought no one saw it. You thought it was too small, too quiet, too insignificant to matter. But God, Heaven's King, took note. Angels recorded it. The very air in the unseen realm shifted when you chose differently. That moment was not ordinary. It was divine interruption. Listen to me carefully. You have carried weights that no one else knew. You smiled in front of others, but your heart broke behind closed doors. You fought battles no one applauded. You said no to temptations when no one would have blamed you for saying yes. That hidden obedience, though unseen on earth, was thunder in the heavens. Think of it like a seed buried beneath the soil. No one applauds a seed when it disappears under the dirt. Yet in the secret, where no eyes watch, roots grow. And one day, those roots will push through stone and sprout with strength. Your hidden act was the root, and heaven already sees the tree. Do not underestimate what you did. The cycle had run through your family like a river for generations. Addiction, betrayal, fear, poverty, rejection, each wave stronger than the last. But then, you lifted your hand. You whispered, "I will not bow." That single decision was like throwing a stone into still waters. Ripples are now spreading far beyond your own life. There was a young woman, a chosen one like you, who endured long seasons of silence. Everyone else thought she had failed. She had prayed for years, waited for breakthrough, but nothing seemed to change. Until one day, in her private room, she whispered through tears, "Lord, I still choose you." She didn't know it. But that night, a generational curse ended. She became the first in her family to walk free. That's how heaven works. It crowns hidden faithfulness with eternal recognition. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Do you feel the weight of those words? God Himself declares that He is birthing something new in you. Your hidden decision was the spark, and now streams will appear where only deserts have been. The dry ground of your past will no longer define your future. Chosen one. Understand this. Spiritual patterns do not break by accident. They shatter when one person dares to resist, and you resisted. Heaven saw you resist what destroyed others. That is why God calls you His breaker, His warrior, His vessel of hope for the generations to come. It is not about being strong enough in yourself. It is about trusting the God who is strong in your weakness. Think of a small candle in a dark cave. The flame trembles, but it still burns. And that small trembling flame terrifies the vast darkness. That is who you are right now, a flame that will not go out. I need you to take this moment and seal it with action. If this word is stirring something deep inside, let the heavens know you hear. Type in the comments right now, 77. That number will stand as a prophetic sign that you have stepped into your new beginning. Not for me, not for an algorithm, but as a declaration before God. I have broken the cycle. And if this message is speaking to your spirit, do not walk away silently. Press like. Share this word so another chosen one can be strengthened. And subscribe to stay connected with messages that carry fire for your soul. You are not just consuming words, you are stepping into destiny. Remember this, The world claps for public victories, but heaven crowns secret obedience. And God saw yours. He saw the night you chose prayer over compromise. He saw the day you forgave instead of retaliating. He saw the moment you closed the door to temptation. No one else may have known, but heaven paused. And from this day forward, you will never walk unseen again. Now hear me, this is not just a passing word. This is a marker on your journey, a turning point, a place where God says, enough. The old is broken. The new begins. Oh, take a breath right now. Let it sink in. Your hidden faith has opened a visible future, like a sunrise breaking the horizon after the longest night. Your story is stepping into light. Nothing wasted, nothing forgotten. Every silent battle now becomes part of your crown. Walk forward with courage. You are seen. You are chosen. You are unstoppable. The hidden move of courage, no trumpet sounded. No spotlight fell upon you. No one clapped in recognition. And yet, in the silence of that moment, you crossed a line that hell never thought you would. It wasn't a loud decision. It wasn't something you posted about, or something others could applaud. It was inward, yet sacred. That is where real power lives. Courage is not always the roar of a lion. Sometimes it is the whisper in the night, I will not give in. Sometimes it is the trembling step forward when everything inside you screams to turn back. That was your move. Heaven measured it, and eternity recorded it. Think of a traveler walking across a desert. No one else around. No one counting the steps. But each foot pressed into the sand leaves a print that remains long after the wind has passed. That is what your hidden act of courage did. It left a mark in time that cannot be erased. You may not even realize how much weight shifted that day. There were spiritual chains wrapped tight around you. Chains forged from fear, compromise, and patterns repeated across generations. When you acted in obedience, when you chose to stand, the sound of those chains breaking thundered across the unseen world. There is a man I once knew, a chosen one like yourself. He had been carrying the weight of anger for years. His father abandoned him. His home was a battlefield of words and fists. Everyone expected him to repeat the cycle, to be absent, to destroy instead of build. But one day, when provoked, he lifted his hand to strike, then stopped. He dropped his hand. He walked away. That moment of hidden restraint was courage. No one clapped. No one saw. But in the spirit, a generational chain broke. He became the first in his family to raise his children with peace. This is what courage looks like. It is often invisible. It is costly. It is lonely. But it is always noticed by God. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 1, verse 8. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord. That promise was not spoken to crowds. It was whispered to one man, standing in fear, doubting his own voice. God does not measure courage by applause, but by obedience in the face of fear. You, chosen one, have embodied this. Your hidden move did not just save you, it shifted something larger. It sent ripples through your future, through your family line, through the atmosphere around you. The courage of one becomes the covering of many. Picture a single stone lodged in the wall of a dam. That stone seems small, insignificant, compared to the rushing water behind it. But when it falls out of place, cracks begin to spread, and the flood breaks through. That is what your choice has done. Your one step of courage loosened the stone. Now, a flood of freedom is coming, not just for you, but for all connected to you. Do not underestimate the hidden moments. They weigh more than public victories. Anyone can perform for applause, but few can remain faithful when no one watches. That is why heaven treasures these unseen acts. They reveal who you truly are, not who you appear to be. Some think courage is about being fearless, but you know the truth. Courage is moving forward even when fear shakes your bones. You felt the trembling. You heard the lies. Yet you moved anyway. That is faith in action. Your hidden obedience is like a lighthouse on a stormy coast. It doesn't silence the storm. It doesn't remove the waves, but it shines through, guiding others towards safety, even when the lighthouse itself stands battered by wind and rain. Chosen one, remember this: your courage was not wasted. It was not overlooked. It was the pivot point heaven had been waiting for. The unseen realms rejoiced the moment you made that choice. And though the world may never write your name in history books, your name was etched into heavenly records that cannot fade. Do not despise the quiet victories. They are the foundation stones of destiny. They are the proof that you are who God says you are: a breaker, a pioneer, a carrier of light. So walk on. Even when no one notices, continue forward. Even when the path feels lonely, for you are not alone. The one who called you, the one who watched you in silence, is walking beside you. Still, every tear had a record. Not one drop of your sorrow slipped unnoticed. You thought those nights of silence and pillows soaked in grief were wasted. You thought the pain was just pain. But heaven is a witness. Every sigh, every unspoken word, every tear that traced your face was gathered in the hands of the Almighty. There is a hidden mystery here. Your tears were not weakness. They were evidence. Evidence that you carried weight heavier than your shoulders could bear. Yet still you endured. Each tear became a testimony that you did not give up, even when no one was watching. Think of rain falling into a river. No single drop is noticed. Yet, over time, the river swells, becomes mighty, and shapes valleys. That is what your tears have done. They collected into a river before God's throne, crying out louder than words ever could. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 56, verse 8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." Do you feel that truth settling in your spirit? Your tears are written. They are not forgotten memories fading in the night. They are etched into eternal record. Heaven does not dismiss your pain, it honors it. There was once a young man who prayed for years for his family. Each night, he wept alone, believing nothing was changing. His brothers mocked him. His parents ignored his faith. Yet he kept weeping, kept praying. Years later, one by one, his family members came to salvation. Looking back, he realized those years of silent tears were the seeds of their deliverance. What felt like wasted sorrow was an investment in eternity. That is how your story unfolds as well. Those nights of breaking were not empty. They were sowing. You were planting something in tears that will grow into joy. Imagine a potter shaping clay. Every press of his fingers leaves a mark. To the untrained eye, it looks like deformity. But to the potter, it is design. In the same way, your tears have marked your life not to deform you, but to shape you into something more beautiful than you can yet see. I need you to pause with me here. Take this moment seriously. If this word is resonating in the deepest part of your soul, I invite you to comment, "God remembers me." Why this phrase? Because that is exactly what the scripture affirms. Your tears are not forgotten in some hidden corner of the universe. They are remembered, recorded, treasured, honored by heaven itself. When you type those words, you are declaring faith that the God who saw your breaking is the same God who will bring your restoration. It is a seal of agreement with what heaven already knows. None of it was in vain. Do not underestimate this act. Sometimes a simple confession carries the weight of prophecy. Just as your tears were unseen by the world but known to God, your words typed now may seem small, yet they echo into eternity. Chosen one, understand this. Your breaking did not break you. It made you. Those hidden nights trained your spirit in ways comfort never could. You learned endurance. You learned compassion. You learned to pray from the depths, not from the surface. You learned to walk by faith, not by sight. Your scars now glow with purpose. They are not signs of defeat, but badges of survival. The very places that bled the most will become the very places others will find healing through your story. So, lift your head, wipe your face. Your tears were not wasted. They were recorded, they were stored, and now they are speaking louder than ever. God is weaving them into the breakthrough that is unfolding in your life even now. And hear this, your season of weeping is not the final chapter. The soil that drank your tears will one day bloom with joy. What you planted in sorrow, you will reap in laughter. The silence you endured is becoming a testimony that others will lean on. They will hear your story and believe again. They will see your scars and realize survival is possible. So do not despise the waiting. Do not regret the breaking. Every moment has been forming a vessel that can carry glory. And that vessel is you. Hold steady now. The story is not finished. What felt like loss is becoming legacy. What felt like ashes is becoming crown. Patterns that held generations. Some chains are not forged overnight. They are passed down quietly, like whispers in the bloodline, moving from parent to child, weaving themselves into the very fabric of families. Some call it coincidence, but you know better. You have felt the invisible weight pressing against your steps, as if you were born into a script already written. These patterns have names: poverty that repeats itself, anger that erupts like fire, always in the same season, addiction that lurks, ready to enslave another life, broken relationships, betrayal, rejection. For some, it is fear that never leaves. For others, it is shame inherited from choices they never even made. These are not random. They are ancient. Yet here, you stand the interruption. You are the one heaven placed in the bloodline to say, "This stops with me." And though that declaration may have seemed small when it left your lips, the very ground beneath you trembled at those words. For darkness feeds on agreement. And when you refuse to agree with what destroyed those before you, the chain lost its hold. Think of it like a relay race. For generations, the baton was passed. Failure, anger, loss. Each runner carried what was handed down. But you, when the baton was pressed into your hand, dropped it. You refused to keep running the same track. That was not rebellion against your family. It was obedience to heaven. There was a woman I once met who carried a history of divorce in her family. Grandmother, mother, aunt marriages shattered one by one. She feared love because she believed she was doomed to repeat the pattern. But in her quiet walk with God, she made a different choice. She sought wisdom. She prayed over her relationships. And she forgave where bitterness wanted to grow. Today, she and her husband walk in covenant, breaking the curse that had loomed for decades. Her children will not inherit what she endured. That is the power of a chosen one in a family line. They turn what was expected into something unthinkable. They rewrite the story. Scripture speaks in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Now, notice this. It is the pattern that tries to trap you. But transformation begins when you no longer conform. When your mind is renewed, the pattern shatters. That is exactly what you did when you chose differently. Some will not understand. They will accuse you of being proud or strange. They may say, "Who do you think you are? Trying to be different." But you know deep within this was never about pride. It was about purpose, about breaking free, so that others after you might walk lighter. Imagine a tree whose roots are poisoned. For generations, the fruit is bitter. Yet suddenly, one root grows in a different direction, reaching for clean water, pulling life where there had been only death. That root transforms the whole tree over time. That root is you. The unseen war you fought was never just about you. It was about sons and daughters you may not even meet. It was about nieces, nephews, grandchildren who will live in freedom because you dared to resist. Heaven celebrates not just your escape, but the rescue of many who follow after. Sometimes you feel the weight of it, the loneliness of standing apart, the pressure of not having an example to follow. But hear this clearly. That very loneliness is evidence that you are set apart. Pioneers rarely walk crowded paths. They carve trails through wilderness so others can follow safely later. Chosen one. The patterns that held your generations did not end easily. They screamed. They fought. They tried to convince you to surrender. Yet here you are, breathing proof that they lost their grip. You are not repeating. You are rewriting. And while others may not see the full picture yet, heaven already does. The angels know your name because of the resistance you carried. Demons remember the day you said no, because their plans collapsed in an instant. Take courage in this truth. You are not simply surviving. You are shifting history. One choice, one prayer, one act of courage at a time. You are laying down stones of a new foundation, and generations to come will build upon what you have set. So stand steady. The pattern has been broken, and though echoes may try to call you back, their power has been shattered. You are free, and through you, freedom is flowing, marked by separation. That's what it felt like, didn't it? You looked around and realized you didn't fit where others fit. You were in the crowd, but not of the crowd. You sat at the table, but you couldn't swallow what everyone else was eating. Loneliness pressed in, not because you were unwanted, but because you were set apart. Sometimes being chosen feels like exile. Friends fall away. Family misunderstands. Doors close. Yet in that silence, God is at work. He is not punishing you. He is protecting you. He removes you from the noise so you can hear His whisper. Think of a shepherd separating one lamb from the flock, not because it is weak, but because it is precious. He carries it close, keeping it safe from what the others cannot see. That is what God has been doing with you, marking you, holding you, preparing you for something greater. This separation is not rejection. It is consecration. To consecrate is to set apart for holy use. That's you. You don't walk the same paths, because your destiny isn't the same as theirs. You don't speak the same way, because your words carry weight they cannot yet understand. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 19, verse 5. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Treasured possession. That's what you are. Not forgotten, not abandoned, treasured. And yet, separation hurts. It feels like standing in an empty room while everyone else laughs outside. You wonder, why me? Why can't I just be normal? But hear this, normal is never remembered. Normal never breaks cycles. Normal never shifts nations. You were never designed to blend in. You were designed to shine apart. There was once a young woman who longed to be accepted. She followed her friends into places she knew weren't right, just to avoid feeling alone. But in those places, her heart grew restless. She felt an ache. Her friends didn't. One day, she stopped. She walked away. That decision cost her friendships, but it also opened the door to peace, purpose, and a new family God gave her along the way. Her separation was her salvation. Your story carries that same mark. The ache you feel is not punishment, it's destiny pressing against your soul. And while you walk this journey, let me pause to speak plainly. Messages like this, words that carry life, hope, and strength, do not appear out of thin air. They are built, crafted, and carried forward through time, energy, and resources. If you have been strengthened by these words, if you feel the Spirit pressing truth into your heart through them, I invite you purely as an act of love and freedom to consider sowing back. Think of it like this. When you drink from a well, you sometimes leave behind a cup of water for the next traveler, not because you were forced, not because someone demanded it, but because you know the taste of refreshment, and you want others to taste it too. Giving works the same way. Whether it is liking this video, sharing it so someone else finds hope, subscribing so you stay close to the flow, or even donating, these are cups of water left behind. They don't just sustain the message, they extend it. They make sure that another weary soul, wandering in silence, stumbles upon the same encouragement you have found today. Hear me, this is never about pressure. Your worth before God is not measured in currency or clicks. Your obedience is not for sale. But sometimes, giving is simply gratitude in action. It is saying, "This well refreshed me. I want to help keep it flowing." And if all you can give is a prayer, let it be a prayer. If all you can give is a like or a share, let it be that. If you feel led to sow financially, let it be out of freedom, never obligation. For God loves a cheerful giver, not a reluctant one. Chosen one. You are marked by separation, but you are also marked by purpose, and the world needs voices, spaces, and messages that remind people of that truth. You have just experienced one of them. Imagine how many others could be lifted if these words reach them in their midnight hour. So, walk forward knowing this. Your separation is not wasted. You are a treasured possession. You are being prepared. And every act of courage, every act of generosity, every act of faith becomes part of a story much larger than your own. When you feel the ache of being apart, remember, it is the ache of being chosen, and heaven is smiling over you, saying, "This one is mine." The unspoken yes, that is what heaven remembers most about you. Not the loud declarations, not the speeches, not the moments when everyone heard you. No, heaven treasures that quiet surrender you gave when no one else was listening. It was a whisper, not a shout, a nod in the night when God asked, "Will you trust me here?" You said yes. Even though fear rattled in your chest, you said yes. Even though the cost felt too high, that kind of yes is rare, because it cannot be faked. This yes did not happen on a stage. It was not sung in a song. It was not captured in a photograph. It lived in silence, buried deep. But it carried more weight than 1,000 sermons. Heaven erupted over it. Think of a key turning quietly in a lock. No one outside hears it. No one notices. Yet that soft click opens the door to an entirely new house. That is what your yes did. It opened doors in the spirit realm that were sealed for years. There was a man who struggled with bitterness for decades. He had been betrayed, wounded, and abandoned. His heart grew hard, and everyone expected him to carry that hardness until death. But one day, in his own quiet time, he whispered, "Yes, Lord, I forgive." No one applauded. No one even knew. Yet that single hidden yes broke the prison of bitterness that chained him. His family saw the change in his eyes, though they could not explain it. That yes was more powerful than any sermon he could have preached. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians. Second letter, chapter 1, verse 20. For no matter how many promises God has made, they are yes in Christ. And so through him the Amen is spoken by us to the glory of God. End of tease. Do you see? God's promises are waiting for a yes. They are seeds lying dormant in the soil of eternity. But your yes is the rain that awakens them. Your surrender gives them life. Chosen one. Your yes is costly. It separates you from the crowd. It asks you to lay down what others still cling to. It pulls you away from comfort and into obedience. But this is what marks you as chosen: your willingness to say yes when no one else will. And here is something beautiful. That yes is still echoing. Heaven never forgets it. Angels, remember the moment you surrendered. Demons, remember the moment their grip loosened. God himself remembers the moment you said, "I choose you." Imagine throwing a pebble into a still lake. The ripples spread far beyond where the pebble entered. Your yes is like that. The ripples are reaching further than you know. They are touching future generations. They are touching strangers who will one day be blessed by your obedience. But right now, I want you to mark this moment. Not for me, not for anyone else, for yourself. As a prophetic act of agreement, I invite you to comment 4,444. Why 4444? Because it symbolizes firm foundation, divine order, and the unshakable walls God is building around your destiny. When you write it, you are not typing digits. You are declaring, "My hidden yes is secured in God's foundation. I will not be moved." And do not underestimate such a simple action. Writing it is like lifting a stone and placing it as a memorial, the way Joshua did when Israel crossed the Jordan. It becomes a marker. Here, I said yes. Here, I chose obedience. Oh, your yes is sacred. Protect it. Do not let the world cheapen it. Do not let fear talk you out of it. Do not let doubt erode it. Hold it close, because it is the seed of every promise that is coming to pass. Think again of a seed in the dark, hidden, silent, buried, yet inside it beats with life, waiting for its time. Your yes may feel hidden right now, but soon it will break the soil. Soon it will rise into the light. Soon it will bear fruit that others will taste. Chosen one. Your yes has already shifted things you cannot yet see. It has written your name deeper into God's story, and it will carry you forward, step by step, into the fullness of your calling. And when doubt comes, remember this moment. Remember the whisper. Remember the quiet surrender that shook the unseen. That yes is stronger than any fear, louder than any lie, more enduring than any storm. Your future rests on it, and heaven still echoes with it. The shift in the spirit realm, so much of life appears ordinary to human eyes. Yet unseen currents are always moving beneath the surface. You live in the natural, but your choices reverberate in the invisible. The moment you took that hidden step, the atmosphere changed. What felt small to you caused a tremor in eternity. The spiritual world is not passive. It is alive, constantly watching, constantly moving, and every act of obedience shakes its balance. When you chose God's way, when you whispered yes, when you resisted what others embraced, it was not just a private victory, it was a cosmic collision. Light pierced into territory where darkness had long ruled. Think of it like two armies facing one another across a battlefield. The line had held for generations. No one crossed it. No one dared. But then, in the quiet, you stepped forward. To those around, it seemed like nothing. But to the armies watching, it was everything. The ground itself shifted, and the battle turned. There was a man who once struggled with despair so deeply that he nearly gave up his life. One night, in utter silence, he cried out, "God, if you are real, show me." That moment was a whisper. No crowd heard it. But in the spirit, it was like a trumpet. Angels moved. Demons trembled. The very trajectory of his life bent toward light. That hidden plea became the crack in the wall that let heaven's light flood through. The ancient words recorded in the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 12 say, "Do not be afraid. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them." End of. Even Daniel, a man who prayed in silence, learned that unseen battles were shifting the moment he humbled himself. You too carry that reality. From the first moment you turned your heart toward God, movements began in places you could not see. Do not mistake silence for inaction. Just because you don't see the shift yet doesn't mean it hasn't begun. Earthquakes start deep underground before anyone feels them on the surface. In the same way, your obedience has already cracked the foundations of darkness. It is only a matter of time before the shaking reaches the visible world. Imagine standing at the edge of a forest at dawn. The darkness still lingers. The air still cold. But then one bird sings, a single sound, and suddenly the whole forest awakens, echoing with life. That's what your hidden decision was, the first song of dawn. And heaven has joined in the chorus ever since. Sometimes, though, you wonder why life still feels heavy, why battles continue, why the shift isn't yet visible. But this is the truth. Even after a storm begins to move, the clouds don't disappear instantly. The wind shifts first, and only later does the sky clear. The heaviness you feel is the last resistance of darkness trying to hold what it has already lost. Chosen one, you need to know this. Your life is no longer ordinary. The unseen realm recognizes you now. You are marked. Light radiates from you in ways you may not notice, but spirits see it clearly. Your prayers disrupt darkness. Your presence shifts the air in rooms. Your words carry an authority you didn't have before, because heaven has already affirmed your obedience. This is why some people resist you without reason, why some environments feel tense when you walk in. It's not about you personally, it's about the spirit you carry. Darkness cannot stay comfortable where light has arrived. And yet, take comfort, because the shift that began is irreversible. The line has already been crossed. The lock has already turned. The battle has already swung in your favor. There will be moments when you still feel small, moments when you still feel unseen. But heaven knows differently. The change you sparked cannot be undone. Like ripples moving outward on water, the effects continue long after the pebble disappears beneath the surface. So hold steady. Don't measure victory by what your eyes can see. Trust that the unseen is already aligning with what God has spoken. The spirit realm has shifted, and the visible will soon follow. And when you feel weary, remind yourself, the wind has already changed direction. You are no longer walking against the tide. Heaven is carrying you forward. Even if steps feel heavy, they are steps on new ground. Your breakthrough is not coming. It has already begun. The watchers saw it, not just the people around you, because most of them didn't notice anything at all, but the unseen realm, both light and darkness, saw clearly the moment your decision shifted everything. Angels leaned in, demons recoiled. That hidden obedience became a public event in the spiritual world. You must understand this truth. There are always witnesses. When you pray, heaven listens. When you resist temptation, angels record it. When you surrender in the quiet, the kingdom of darkness trembles. You are never unseen in the unseen world. Think of a courtroom on earth. There may be no judge, no jury, no lawyers present, but in heaven's courts, every word, every action, every choice is weighed. And the day you chose obedience, the record was written. It was proclaimed across realms. This one belongs to God. 1. The prophet Zechariah describes such a scene in his visions. Chapter 3, verse 1. Then he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right side to accuse him. 1. That image is powerful. The accuser always stands ready, watching for failure, longing to shame God's chosen. But when you obeyed, even in silence, the accuser's voice broke. His accusations lost their grip, because your decision testified louder than his lies. There was once a woman who battled with secrecy in her life. She thought no one saw, and that her small compromises didn't matter. But when she finally laid everything down before God, when she whispered in prayer, "I choose you, Lord, above all else," something shifted. Years later, she realized that her single decision became a dividing line in her family's story. Angels saw it, demons saw it, and her life began to tell a different tale. Chosen one. This is why your obedience carries weight. You may feel invisible, but you are not. Heaven celebrates, hell trembles, and the watching world, even if they cannot name it, can sense the difference on you. Have you noticed how some people treat you differently without reason? It's not always about personality or opinion. Sometimes it's the unseen mark you carry. Light radiates in ways natural eyes can't explain, but spirits recognize it instantly. Some will be drawn, others will resist, but both are responding to the reality of who you are in God. Imagine walking into a room carrying a lantern. Some people gather closer to the light, warmed and guided by it. Others shield their eyes, shrinking back because the brightness exposes what they prefer hidden. That is your life now. You carry light, and watchers, seen and unseen, respond. This can feel heavy at times. To be marked, to be watched, to be known in realms you cannot fully see. But do not let this burden trouble you. For the same witnesses that oppose you are the ones who testify of your victory. Your obedience speaks louder than accusations. Your surrender shines brighter than shadows. There is also this: angels are not passive spectators. They do not simply watch. They war. They protect. They move at the command of God, in response to your prayers and your choices. When you resisted darkness, they rejoiced, and they continue to surround you as ministers of light, chosen one. Let this truth anchor you. Your life is a stage, but not for human applause. It is a stage where heaven and hell both take notice, and your hidden decisions are the loudest performances of all. Do not despise this role. To be watched is to be trusted. God has trusted you with visibility in realms beyond what you can measure. He has trusted you to represent Him in moments that seem small, but echo in eternity. The watchers saw it. They know the tide has turned. And though the enemy may still whisper, his defeat has already been declared. Heaven's record stands. Angels continue to guard. Your story is already shining beyond what you realize. So, walk with dignity. Live aware of the unseen stage you carry, and never forget your life, your choices. Your hidden yes is already a testimony to worlds you cannot yet see. And here is the wonder. When heaven watches, it is not with cold eyes of judgment, but with the warm gaze of a father's delight. Every step you take in faith brings joy to His heart. Every surrender draws heaven's song closer. You are not overlooked. You are celebrated. You are known in places beyond your imagination. So lift your head high. Every step forward is more than survival. It is proclamation. Heaven watches. Angels sing. And even in silence, your life thunders victory. You silenced ancestral voices. For too long, Whispers from the past tried to dictate your steps. They said you would repeat what was always repeated. They told you the script was already written. They mocked you, echoing through your bloodline, declaring that nothing could change. But then you made a choice. You broke the agreement, and suddenly their voices were silenced. Every family has echoes, patterns spoken over children before they even take their first breath. Words like curses, living on for generations. You'll never succeed. This is just who we are. No one in this family escapes it. But you did. You refused to echo them. You refused to let your lips repeat their sound. And in doing so, you cut the cord that tied their words to your future. There was a young man who grew up under the weight of shame. His grandfather failed. His father failed. His uncles failed. And everyone said he would. Too. Those voices rang in his ears like chains clanging shut. But one day, he opened Scripture and declared over himself, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength." That confession drowned the voices. The curses lost their power. He lived free because he dared to silence what his family had agreed with for generations. The prophet Hosea records God's words in chapter 2, verse 23. "I will say to those called not my people, you are my people, and they will say, you are my God." Do you see the reversal? Where voices once declared rejection, God's voice declares belonging. Where generations once said, "You are nothing," God says, "You are mine." One, chosen one. This is what you stepped into. You chose to agree with God's voice instead of the voices of the past. You silenced them not with shouting, but with surrender. You answered their lies with truth. And now, their echo is fading into nothing. Picture a bell that rings for decades. Its sound is constant, shaping the air. But if one day the clapper is removed, the bell falls silent. That is what your choice has done. For generations, the bell rang over your family, but you removed its clapper. The sound stopped. The silence now belongs to heaven. Understand this. The enemy cannot create. He can only repeat. That's why ancestral voices sound so familiar. They are recycled lies. They are the same old patterns dressed in new words. But once you refuse to agree, the cycle broke. Light cannot be bound by echoes. Right now, as a prophetic act of faith, I invite you to mark this moment in the comments with the phrase, "Voices silenced." It's short, but it carries weight, because by typing it, you are testifying. The voices of the past no longer dictate my future. The only voice I follow is the voice of God. It's not about words on a screen, it's about agreement in the Spirit. Heaven sees it. Hell fears it. Chosen one. Your courage to disagree with ancestral voices has opened the way for generations after you. Children you may never meet will walk lighter because you dared to say no. Families will rise healed because you dared to listen to a higher voice. Never forget, the silence of those voices is not emptiness. It is space for God's word to echo instead. And his voice always creates, always restores, always builds where destruction once reigned. So, rest in this truth. The voices of the past are gone. Their echo is broken. Their authority has ended. And the only sound that remains is the whisper of the one who calls you chosen. And what does that mean in real life? It means when fear tries to say, "You will fail like they did," you can answer, "No, I walk in a new covenant. It means when shame whispers, "You are just like them," you can stand tall and say, "I carry a different name, the name of Christ." It also means you no longer have to explain yourself endlessly. You do not need to prove to everyone that you have changed. The silence of those voices is proof enough. Their accusations have no echo anymore, because heaven has spoken louder. Imagine walking into a house where an old, broken clock used to tick day and night. Its sound dominated the room, impossible to ignore. Then one day, it stops. At first, the silence feels strange, but slowly, peace fills the space where noise once ruled. That's your life now. The rhythm of bondage has stopped, and peace is filling the silence. The only voice that matters is the one that says, "You are mine, and I am with you." The battle was never fair. From the very beginning, it seemed as if the weight of the world pressed against you. Others walked freely, while you carried invisible chains. Others seemed to succeed with little effort, while you struggled through storms that never let up. And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still chosen. Why was the battle so heavy? Because darkness knew who you were before you did. The enemy always tries hardest to destroy what heaven values most. Your resistance was not just about your life, it was about your destiny, your family line, your future impact. The fight was unfair because hell feared what you would become. And in truth, it was never meant to be fair. You were fighting forces beyond your strength, patterns older than your years, lies spoken long before you were born. But God stepped in. He armed you with weapons that no darkness could withstand. He placed a crown on your head for a battle you should never have been able to win. The Word of God reminds us in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 7, "I have fought the fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." That verse is not empty poetry. It is the anthem of every survivor who was carried by God's strength. It explains why you still breathe today. It is proof that your endurance has meaning. Picture a child facing a towering giant. By human eyes, the battle is impossible. But what if that child carries the strength of a kingdom behind him? That is your story. You faced giants larger than yourself, but heaven fought through you. There was a man who endured years of addiction. Everyone said he would never break free. His battle was fierce, unfair, relentless. Yet one day, after countless failures, he cried out to God. In that moment, he discovered a strength not his own. Step by step, he overcame. Today, he tells his story to others still bound, offering them hope. His battle was unfair, but his victory became a crown. Chosen one. That is what your journey reveals. You were not fighting for defeat. You were fighting toward victory that could only come from God's hand. And the crown you now carry is proof not of your strength, but of His. And now, let me share something gently with you. Words like these, messages of hope, do not rise out of the ground by themselves. They are like a vineyard. Someone must till the soil, water the vines, and wait for fruit to appear. When you taste the sweetness of the grapes, you are tasting years of unseen labor. If this vineyard has nourished you, you may feel moved to plant a seed back into it. For some, that seed is simply sharing the fruit with another traveler, sharing this message so another weary soul finds refreshment. For others, It is tending the vine by subscribing, staying near to the source of encouragement, so you never walk empty-handed. And for some, it is leaving behind an offering, a gift of gratitude, a donation, like a seed placed back into the soil so that the vineyard continues to grow, bearing fruit for many others. Hear me carefully. None of this is demanded. The fruit was given to you freely. You were fed without condition. But when you choose to give back, it is not an obligation, it is an act of beauty. It is the joy of a heart that says, "This nourished me, and I want others to taste it too." End. So whether you simply rest here in silence, or whether you scatter seeds for another harvest, it is all love, all free, all beautiful. Now, return to your crown. The unfairness of your battle is the very thing that proves the glory of your victory. No one can say you survived on your own. No one can boast that human effort carried you. It was God, always God. And because it was Him, the crown on your head cannot be stolen. Imagine a runner collapsing just before the finish line. By strength alone, they cannot rise. But then, a hand lifts them, and they cross not by their own power, but by another's. That is how heaven crowned you. You crossed because God carried you. So now, wear your crown with humility and courage. Do not be ashamed of the scars. They are proof of battles won. Do not be silenced by fear. Your voice carries the authority of someone who has walked through fire and survived. The battle was never fair, but the crown is forever yours. And through you, others will learn that their unfair fight can end in the same victory. Doors unlocking quietly. That is how heaven often works. Not always with thunder, not always with flashing light, but with the soft click of a lock turning when you least expect it. You prayed for years and saw nothing move. And then suddenly, one door after another began to shift. You wondered if it was coincidence. But no, this is the fruit of your obedience. When you broke the pattern, when you whispered your hidden yes, heaven began arranging what you could not. And now the doors are unlocking not loudly, not all at once, but in quiet ways that reveal the hand of God. Think of a hallway lined with doors. For years, you stood before one locked door, knocking, hoping, waiting, sometimes feeling forgotten. But while you focused on that single door, heaven was preparing an entire corridor. Now, as you step forward, you begin to hear the gentle sound of hinges moving, one after another. This is how God works. Sudden doors that appear subtle at first, but lead into wide spaces you never imagined. You may not even notice at first, because they do not shout, they invite. The Book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, contains the voice of Christ Himself. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. That is your verse. You may feel little strength, but your obedience has secured doors no one can close. There was a woman who longed for a breakthrough in her career. For years she felt stuck, overlooked, underappreciated. Every attempt to climb higher seemed blocked, but she stayed faithful, working with integrity, even when no one noticed. One day, without warning, a new opportunity opened, not one she had been chasing, but one she never imagined. It came keetily, with no grand announcement, yet When she stepped through, she realized it had been prepared for her all along. This is the nature of God's favor. Sometimes it comes like a sudden wind, but often it comes like the slow lifting of dawn. You do not notice it at first, but soon you realize the sky is brighter, the path clearer, the day warmer. Chosen one. Understand this. The doors opening for you are not human-made. They are not dependent on the approval of people. That is why they cannot be shut by people. They are divine alignments. Moments where heaven itself says, "Now is the time." Lon. But there is something important here. You must walk through them. A door can be unlocked, but if you never push it open, you will remain in the same place. Courage will still be required. Faith will still be necessary. The key has already turned, but your hand must reach forward. Imagine a garden surrounded by high walls. For years, you stand outside, longing for what's inside, convinced there is no way through. Then, one day, you notice a small gate, quietly unlocked. It does not swing wide by itself. It waits for you to step closer, to turn the handle, to believe you are allowed to enter. That is the moment you are in now. Do not despise small beginnings. Some doors look too ordinary to be significant, but when you walk through, you realize they lead to vast places of growth and promise. A humble beginning can open into a glorious unfolding. Chosen one. The quiet unlocking of doors is a sign that heaven trusts you with more. It is not reward for perfection, it is fruit from your perseverance. You remained when others quit. You trusted when others mocked. You believed when others doubted. And now, heaven honors that faith. So pay attention. Listen for the soft clicks, the quiet invitations. Notice the opportunities that appear small but shimmer with God's fingerprints. They may not come with fanfare, but they come with His favor. And when you step through, you will discover the space He has been preparing all along. The doors are unlocking quietly. Do not be afraid. Step forward. What once was barred is now open, and what opens by God's hand cannot be shut. And if you wonder why it feels so gentle, it is because God knows your heart has been through storms. He does not slam these doors open. He eases them wide so that peace, not pressure, leads you in. Quiet unlocking means you are entering not by force, but by favor. Walk softly, but walk boldly. The way is ready. Prophetic numbers of recognition. Heaven has its own language, and sometimes it speaks through signs that seem simple but carry weight. Numbers, patterns, moments that repeat themselves. These are not accidents. They are whispers of alignment, confirmations that you are walking in step with God's design. You may have noticed them before. The same time flashing on a clock, again and again. The same verse appearing in different places. The same word or number showing up until you can no longer dismiss it as coincidence. These are not random. They are heaven's way of saying, I see you. I am with you. Then, think of it as footprints in the sand. You look behind you and realize someone else has been walking close the whole time. Numbers and signs are those footprints. They reassure you that you are not wandering blind, you are being guided. The ancient words recorded in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3 remind us, "For the vision awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." Oh, prophetic signs are like this. They appear to remind you that the vision is still alive, still moving. Even if the full picture has not yet unfolded, there was a young believer who kept seeing the number 555 everywhere. At first she brushed it off, but eventually she prayed, asking God if it meant something. Over time she realized it was connected to grace, grace multiplied. Grace sufficient for her season. That number became her reminder that God's hand was steady even when her own strength failed. Chosen one. Numbers are not magic. They do not replace Scripture, but they can serve as gentle nods from heaven, reminding you that the story is still on track, that the promises are still in motion, that God has not forgotten your name. And in this moment, I invite you to mark your agreement with heaven's recognition by commenting 9,999. Why 9,999? Because it speaks of completion multiplied, of cycles ending fully, of a season brought to its perfect close so that a new one may begin. It is the final brushstroke on one canvas, declaring that the masterpiece is finished, and the canvas of your next chapter is already prepared. When you write it, do not think of it as typing digits. Think of it as placing a stone of remembrance, the way Israel did after crossing the Jordan. It is a marker in your journey that says, this part is complete. God is doing something new in me. New numbers, signs, confirmations, they are heaven's gentle reminders. And when you respond, you are saying, I see the signs. I trust the author. I walk forward in faith. And so pay attention. Watch how God weaves these small but powerful signals into your path. They are proof that you are not abandoned, not forgotten, but guided step by step toward what He has prepared. And let me explain this clearly, so your heart does not mistake it. Prophetic numbers are not about superstition, nor are they about chasing signs for the sake of signs. They are about recognition moments where the natural and the spiritual overlap, where God bends down to assure you that His timeline still holds, His plan is still intact, and His hand is still guiding. It is much like a traveler walking along unfamiliar road. There are times of doubt, when the path feels endless, but then, along the way, he notices markers carved into stones, reminders that he is still on the right road, still heading toward the destination. That is what prophetic numbers are for you, markers of alignment. When you see them, pause, whisper a prayer. Thank God for reminding you that you are not lost in the wilderness, but walking under His eye. Do not idolize the sign, treasure the sender. Do not cling to the number, cling to the voice behind it. Chosen one. 9,999 is not simply a number. It is a declaration that what was unfinished is now being completed. It speaks of cycles truly ending, chains broken fully, wounds healed deeply, lessons sealed completely. It is heaven's way of saying, you will not have to circle this mountain again. The page is turning. And so when you comment it, when you write it with faith, see it as a prophetic marker. You are stepping from one chapter into another. The ending is secure, and the new beginning is ready. Heaven confirms what your spirit has already felt. Let this give you peace. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are being guided by signs of love, by markers of grace, by numbers that echo heaven's recognition of your journey. The chosen bloodline restorer, that is who you are becoming. In every family story, there are broken lines, unfinished threads, places where pain repeated itself through the years. Generations before you may have fallen to the same weaknesses, the same fears, the same destructive patterns, but heaven has raised you up to be the one who restores what was lost. Restoration is not only about repairing what was broken, it is about building something stronger than what stood before. You are not simply patching cracks in old walls, you are laying down new foundations. Foundations built on covenant, faith, and obedience. Think of Nehemiah, who looked upon the ruined walls of Jerusalem. To others, the ruins were normal. They had lived with broken stones so long that they stopped believing they could ever rise again. But Nehemiah carried a burden to restore, to rebuild. His hands lifted stone after stone, until the walls stood tall once more. You are walking in that same calling, not of walls, but of bloodlines. The writings of the prophet Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. Bring this promise: I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. My generations before you may have lost time. They may have squandered opportunities, or lived in cycles of fear and bondage. But God is saying to you, I will restore through you what was lost through them. There was once a man whose grandfather lived in poverty, whose father never knew peace, and whose siblings followed destructive paths. He felt like his family name carried only pain, but as he surrendered his life to Christ, everything shifted. He became the first in his line to walk in faith, the first to marry and remain faithful, the first to raise his children in hope. Today, his children live free of the shadows that tormented his youth. He is a bloodline restorer, chosen one. That same mantle rests upon you. You may not feel strong enough, wise enough, or worthy enough, but restoration is not about your ability, it is about your willingness. When you said yes to God, you gave Him permission to rebuild through you. Imagine a river flowing through barren land. For years, the soil has been dry, cracked, lifeless. Then suddenly, the river changes course, spilling into the wasteland. Grass begins to grow, flowers bloom, trees rise. That is what your life is doing for your bloodline. The river of God's Spirit flowing through you is nourishing places that were dry for generations. Do not underestimate the significance of your story. When you pray, you are not praying only for yourself. You are interceding for those who came before and those who will come after. When you resist temptation, you are not only protecting your soul, you are protecting generations yet unborn. When you choose obedience, you are planting seeds that will grow into trees. Your grandchildren will sit beneath. Restoration is not always quick. It takes patience, persistence, and faith. Sometimes it looks like nothing is happening, but underneath, the roots are spreading. Just as a ruined city is not rebuilt in a day, neither is a family line restored instantly. But every prayer, every act of obedience, every hidden yes is another brick in the wall, another stone in the foundation. This is why your battles have felt so intense. You are not only fighting for yourself, you are fighting on behalf of many. You are confronting giants that tormented your bloodline for decades, perhaps centuries. And each step you take in victory is paving a new road for those who will come after you. Chosen one. Restoration is already in motion. It may feel quiet, But heaven is writing a new story through your life. A story of wholeness where there was brokenness. A story of light where there was darkness. A story of healing where there was pain. So, hold on to this identity. You are a restorer. You are not repeating the past. You are redeeming it. You are not bound by what was. You are building what will be. And generations to come will bless your name because you dared to say yes when no one else did. And think of this clearly. Restoration through you means your children will not carry what you carried. It means the heavy bags you set down will never be handed to them. It means laughter where there was silence, peace where there was chaos, honor where there was shame. This is not only about your freedom, it is about writing a new inheritance. You are building a legacy that will outlive your years. Your scars are testimony. For so long, you may have looked at them with shame, wondering why you had to endure wounds so deep. You may have hidden them, fearing others would see weakness. But heaven sees differently. Every scar upon your soul is not a mark of defeat. It is proof of survival. Proof that the battle tried to end you, but failed. A scar is not an open wound. It is a wound that has healed, leaving a reminder of both the pain and the victory. It tells a story. I was struck here, but I did not I bled here, but I am still standing. I hurt here, but I have healed. That is what your life is now living. Testimony that what should have destroyed you has instead refined you. The writings in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, speak of this transformation, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Your scars are evidence of this exchange. Beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for despair. Where once there was only pain, now there is proof of God's restoration. There was a woman who survived years of rejection. Each season carved deep wounds into her heart. For a long time, she believed those wounds made her unworthy of love. But as God walked with her, the wounds healed. Though the scars remained, they became her testimony. Today, she speaks to others who feel unworthy, and when they see her strength, they know healing is possible. Her scars preach louder than her words. Chosen one. That is your calling too. Your scars are sermons written in your skin, in your memory, in your story. You do not have to erase them. You do not have to pretend they never happened. They are now weapons of light, disarming the darkness that once tormented you. Think of a sword forged in fire. The marks left on its blade are not imperfections. They are signs of the refining process. They prove the sword has endured the furnace and come out strong. Your scars are like that. They are the proof that you have been refined, that you have passed through fire and have emerged as a weapon heaven can use. Some may judge you by your scars, but that is because they do not understand. They see them as flaws. God sees them as testimonies. They see brokenness. God sees evidence of His healing power. When you carry your scars with courage, they shine with glory that no untested life could ever reflect. There is also this: scars carry empathy. Because you have been wounded, you recognize the wounds in others. You see pain that others overlook. And when you speak to someone who is hurting, your words carry weight because they know you understand. That is why your scars are not liabilities, they are qualifications. They qualify you to be a comforter, a healer, a guide for those still walking through valleys. Imagine a lighthouse battered by storms. Cracks mark its walls, proof of years of pounding waves. And yet, the light still shines. In fact, it shines brighter because it has proven it can withstand the storm. That is your life. The cracks are not shame, they are proof of endurance. Chosen one, never again despise your scars. Wear them with honor. They are reminders of the battles you survived, the grace that carried you, the faithfulness of God that never left. They silence the enemy because they testify louder than accusation, I am still here. And your scars are testimony. They are your authority in the Spirit. They are your living sermon. And they will continue to speak long after words fade, declaring the faithfulness of the one who turned wounds into weapons, ashes into beauty, and sorrow into praise. And think of it like this: a scar is not weakness, but wisdom carved into your being. It says, I walked through fire, and I learned. It says, I faced loss, and I still believe. It says, I was struck, but I rose again. These are truths that no book, no theory, no teaching could ever place inside you. They were written only through living, only through enduring, only through healing. That is why your scars carry authority. They prove you are not speaking from imagination, but from experience. And every time you show them, someone else dares to believe healing is possible. Your scars are not endings. They are beginnings for others. They are road signs pointing the broken toward hope, glory rising from ashes. That is the picture of your life. For so long, it felt like everything around you was consumed, burned down to nothing. Dreams turned to dust, relationships fractured. Hopes you once held tightly slipped through your hands like smoke. Yet what looked like the end was not the end. Because with God, ashes are not final. They are the soil of resurrection. Think of a field after a wildfire. The ground is black, the air heavy with the smell of smoke. To the human eye, it looks ruined beyond repair. But give it time, and you will see something miraculous. From beneath the ash, green shoots break forth, stronger than before. That is the glory of God at work in your story. The writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 30, verse 11. Proclaim this: You turned my mourning into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. This is not a poetic dream. It is your reality. You are standing in the place where glory begins to rise, not despite the ashes, but through them. There was once a man who lost everything in a single-season job: family, health. For years, he sat among the ruins of his life, certain that nothing good could ever come again. But slowly, as he clung to God, doors began to open. Relationships healed. Provision came. Joy returned. When he looked back, he realized the very ruins that once mocked him had become the ground where his new life was planted. His ashes became his altar, and his altar became his testimony. Chosen one. This is what is happening in you. The very things that broke you are now becoming the platform where God will display His glory. What felt wasted will become woven. What felt destroyed will become rebuilt. What felt empty will overflow. Now, let me pause here to speak to your heart with gentleness. Words like these, stories like this, are not random echoes in the air. They are like lanterns lit along a dark path. Someone carries the oil. Someone tends the flame, so that weary travelers like you can find their way home. And when you are warmed by that lantern, you may feel stirred to add a drop of oil yourself, not because you are forced, not because anyone demands it, but because gratitude stirs generosity. When you press like, it is like placing a small stone on the altar, saying, "This moment matters." When you share, it is like carrying a torch into another dark valley, so someone else can see light. When you subscribe, it is like returning to the well again and again, knowing the water will not run dry. And when you donate, it is like planting a seed into the same soil that birthed your own hope, ensuring more gardens of grace will grow for others. Hear this clearly. It is never about obligation. The message is free. The hope is free. You are already chosen, already loved. But sometimes, giving becomes a beautiful echo of receiving, a way of saying, "What healed me, I want to help heal another." I think of it like a fire on a cold night. You sit close, warmed by the flames, and before you leave, you place another log on the fire, not because you had to, but because you want the next soul who comes shivering to feel the same warmth you felt. That is the spirit of support. Voluntary, joyful, overflowing from gratitude. But even if you do nothing, if you only sit here and receive, know this: God's glory is still rising on you. The ashes of your past are already turning into beauty. The ruins of yesterday are becoming foundations for tomorrow. And the crown of glory placed on your head is not fragile. It will not fade. It will not slip. It cannot be stolen. So walk tall. Let the world see what God has done. Wear your scars as testimony. Lift your voice as witness. You are living proof that glory can rise from ashes, and that nothing surrendered to God ever stays in ruin. Glory is rising, and through your story, others will believe it can rise in theirs too. Because when ashes turn to beauty in one life, it becomes a signal fire for many more. Your testimony is not just private, it is prophetic. It whispers into the darkness of another heart. If God could restore me, He can restore you. That is why your story matters. It is bigger than your healing, bigger than your comfort. It is about generations of weary souls who will dare to hope again when they see you shining where once you were buried. The season of great unveiling, you have walked through silence, endured waiting, carried battles no one else could see. For years it felt as though nothing was changing, as though heaven was far away and answers delayed. Yet all along, something was shifting in the unseen. The unveiling was being prepared. Chosen one. Unveiling is not sudden invention, it is revelation. What God has placed within you was there all along, hidden like treasure beneath the soil, waiting for the right season to be revealed. Seeds do not sprout the moment they are planted. They rest. They break in silence. They stretch roots before the world ever sees a green shoot. And when the time comes, what was hidden becomes visible. That is your story. The ancient writings in the book of Luke, chapter 8, verse 17, echo this truth. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. This unveiling is not about exposing shame, it is about revealing glory. For too long you thought your hiddenness meant rejection, but in reality, hiddenness was protection. You were not forgotten, you were being preserved, cultivated, refined until the appointed time. Think of Joseph, locked away in prison, years slipping by in obscurity. To the world, he was wasted potential. But in God's timing, the doors opened and Joseph was unveiled as the one chosen to save a nation. The hidden years did not disqualify him, they prepared him. So it is with you. What you thought were wasted seasons were in fact shaping seasons. Your obscurity has birthed depth. Your waiting has forged endurance. Your scars have carved wisdom. And now, as the veil lifts, all of this will be seen not as shame, but as strength. Picture an artist unveiling a painting. For months, perhaps years, the canvas was covered. The strokes were hidden. The process unseen. And then, at the right moment, the cloth is lifted, and the beauty that was always there is revealed to the world. That is what heaven is doing now with your life. Chosen one. The unveiling also means responsibility. Light reveals not only the beauty, but also the cracks. What once was overlooked will now be noticed. This is not a burden to fear, but an invitation to live in integrity, to let the inner life match the outer honor. What is revealed is not performance, but authenticity, the true you that God has been shaping in secret. There was a young man who dreamed of leading, but found himself stuck in ordinary work for years. He felt unseen, unworthy, left behind. But over time, his unseen work refined his character. When the moment came, his faithfulness was recognized, and doors opened for leadership. Looking back, he realized the unveiling was not sudden, it had been building quietly all along. This is why you must not despise the waiting. Unveiling is not an accident. It arrives in its appointed time. If you had been revealed too soon, the weight of it might have crushed you. But now, because you endured, you can carry it with grace. Imagine a pearl hidden within a shell, layer after layer forming in silence beneath the waves. For years, no one knows it exists. But when it is finally opened, the pearl shines with beauty that could only be forged through hidden pressure. That is your unveiling, a beauty that carries the weight of endurance, the shimmer of perseverance, the strength of survival. Chosen one. Rejoice in this moment. The season of unveiling has arrived. What was whispered in darkness will be declared in light. What was shaped in silence will be celebrated in sight. And through it all, the glory will not point to you alone. It will point to the one who preserved you, who shaped you, who now unveils you for such a time as this. Lift your head. Step forward. The veil is lifting. The time has come. And understand this clearly. When unveiling comes, it does not erase the journey that led here. It redeems it. Every hidden prayer, every quiet sacrifice, every tear shed in secret is now woven into the story being revealed. What once felt like silence now becomes the proof of God's steady hand. This unveiling is not rushed, not fragile. It is solid, built on years of unseen faithfulness. Step into it without fear. The world is not about to see perfection. They are about to see authenticity wrapped in grace. And that is more powerful than any performance, crown placed in open sight. What was hidden in the quiet seasons, what was shaped in the shadows, is now being revealed for all to see. The same people who thought you would never rise The same voices that doubted, the same eyes that overlooked you, will witness what God has placed upon your head. The crown is not just decoration. It is not the shine of human success or the applause of a crowd. It is the visible evidence of God's choosing. A crown in heaven is honor manifested on earth. Proof that obedience in secret is always rewarded in the open. Think of David. For years he was forgotten in the fields, tending sheep while his brothers stood taller, looked stronger, and caught human attention. Yet when the prophet arrived with oil, it was David, ignored and unseen, who was crowned. The anointing found him where others did not. And later, that hidden crown became visible before the entire nation. Chosen one. This is your season of unveiling, not because you demanded it, not because you fought for recognition, but because God Himself has decided it is time. The writings of James, chapter 1, verse 12, declare this: Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him. That crown is eternal. It is not fragile, not temporary, not dependent on shifting circumstances, and though its fullness belongs to eternity, glimpses of it are revealed, even now, in the way doors open, in the way favor rests upon you, in the way people sense the light you carry. There was once a woman who prayed for decades in obscurity. No one knew her name outside her small village. She had no stage, no spotlight, no recognition. But when tragedy struck her community, she became a pillar of strength. People began to notice the depth in her eyes, the peace in her words, the authority in her prayers. Without seeking it, she was crowned before all as a mother of faith. Her hidden years became the foundation of her public honor. That is what God does. He takes what was hidden, what was overlooked, and brings it into the light at the right time. Your crown will not look like everyone else's. For some, it will be the restoration of family. For others, it will be influence, favor, or the ability to heal and comfort. For others, still, it will be authority in prayer, wisdom that shapes lives, or creativity that inspires nations. But whatever form it takes, it will shine with the mark of heaven, not earned by striving, but given by grace. Picture a tree that stood unnoticed on the edge of a field. For years it seemed ordinary, its branches bare, its growth slow. But then, in the right season, it burst into blossom. Suddenly, everyone passing by stopped to marvel at its beauty. The tree had not changed its roots. It had simply reached the moment when the crown of blossoms appeared. That is you now. The crown also carries responsibility. To wear it is to live in humility, remembering the battles that shaped it, the scars that birthed it, the hidden yes that invited it. The crown is not for boasting, but for serving. A king or queen in God's kingdom leads not with domination, but with love, mercy, and truth. Do not fear the visibility. It may feel uncomfortable to be seen after years of hiding, but remember, this visibility is not about you. It is about Him. When others see the crown, they are meant to see the King who placed it there. Chosen one. This is not the end of your journey. It is the unfolding of your destiny. The crown on your head is the beginning of a new chapter. One where your life becomes a testimony not only to yourself, but to everyone who witnesses it. Lift your head. Walk with grace. The hidden has become visible. The crown is upon you, and it will not fade. What God placed in secret is now displayed in the open, and no one, no voice, no enemy, no circumstance can take it away. And understand this clearly: the crown is not the end of the race, but the sign that you are running well. It is both reward and responsibility, beauty and burden, honor and humility. It marks you as one who endured, one who trusted, one who loved God through the fire and emerged carrying His glory. Chosen one. This is where our journey pauses, but not where your story ends. What has been spoken over you in these words is more than encouragement, it is confirmation. Heaven has whispered your identity again and again. You are chosen. You are crowned. You are walking into new glory. Now, let me leave you with this thought. Truth is not meant to stay hidden inside. It is like a flame. It grows brighter when it is shared. When you press like, you are fanning that flame, declaring, yes, this word resonates in me. When you share, you are carrying that flame into another heart, someone waiting in silence who may finally realize they are not forgotten. When you subscribe, it is as if you choose to return to the fire again and again, refusing to let the cold of this world quench what God has started in you. And when you comment, it is like adding your voice to the chorus, a living testimony that says, I am walking in this truth. Your words may be the confirmation another soul was waiting for. And if gratitude overflows, and you feel stirred to give, know this: a donation is not a demand, it is a seed planted into soil that has already produced hope, ensuring others will find the same warmth, the same truth, the same light. Just as one candle can ignite many, your offering becomes part of the ongoing flame that will not be put out. But whether you give or not, whether you click or not, your crown remains. God's love is not measured by your action. Here it is, eternal, unshakable, already written into your being. Walk away from this moment knowing you are sealed with destiny. The trials that tried to bury you have only prepared you. And from this day forward, let your life declare, its ashes do not have the final word. Glory does.